Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is someone who doesn't think this recording is real, Zanandi Boetis.
Is it? I'm not seeing any blood gushing anywhere yet. I mean, I'm looking at that cupboard behind you and it's still kind of waiting for something to jump out of it like a jack in the box. I'm not going to lie. That cupboard is freaking me out, Mark. What's
Does
in
it
the cupboard?
2017 does it feature the best imaginary blood clean scene ever to a montage?
Oh, I think it does. I can't think of any other imaginary blood cleaning scene
So
that sweet,
yeah,
really. Doesn't it just drip with sweet? Like I love how, they say like, yeah, Spielberg was obviously an influence here to bring like the more emotional tone to everything. But you can still hear it in the scoring. Like they actually said somewhere, like they specifically used the scoring of the Goonies to figure out like, the sound for it. And I mean, it does work, doesn't it? It's such a I love how it brings an emotional side because this movie has horror set piece after horror set piece after horror set piece, and I love it. It's so good. Like after watching it again last night and prep for this part, I told Corey, man, I think like a lot of oaks should go back and watch it 2017 just to see how effective it is to do those sequences. Take your time with it, but literally sequence after sequence after sequence, like it brings the scares. I have seen this movie 6 7 times. I jump every time like
mm-hmm.
I forget about the big scares. I'm like, whoa, there it is. But then
That's
it's also has this amazing emotionality to it, and you really feel the kids, and the character development is really good, and yeah, it's such a great movie.
the reason I love it's the coming of age stuff with the kids. I mean, this is
Yeah.
lightning in a bottle. I mean, actually, the original the television miniseries I think captured that too,
Yes, it
with
did.
Tim Curry and Seth Green and the kids casted. What a
Totally.
wonderful group of kids that were came into this, and then this one, I think it definitely rode on the back of like Stranger Things nostalgia. No, actually, this was in create like this was in the works for a long time. So
Since
it's I don't
2009.
yeah.
So I mean, and Stranger Things came out a year earlier. It was released a year earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, yeah, no, like, yeah, it's
Yeah,
yeah.
if you did no research, I guess. But I for me, like I just think these kids are so good in this movie, and I also like that they weren't trying to recreate the Goonies vibe where the kids are always talking over each other. That's a really
Yeah.
hard thing that Donner did in Goonies. Like those kids are talking over each other constantly. And I've seen movies try to recreate that, and it just takes my soul, rips it out, stomps on it, and then it's like, all right, it's that bad. Like I love the Goonies, how they're able to have just screaming kids for an entire film. But then this one, you have some of that, but all these kids are just on fire with their dialogue. I remember watching this in 2017 and being like, who are these kids? Like their line delivery and like how much like Andy Muschietti, the director, was talking about that all these kids came from like very liberal families and all the parents were cool, all the kids were cool. So all the big themes they were fine with. And so he said that they just had a great time on set. And he also said that he wanted to combine Spielberg with Larry Clark's kids movies. Like he wanted to
Yeah.
find a middle ground for that. I'm glad he
Yeah.
didn't go full kids because that'd have been the most with
Uh,
Pennywise, all
oh
the
word.
horrible adults, all the bullies, and then to have a kids Larry Clark kids or bully.
Yeah,
I'd turn it
exactly.
off. I'd be like, every
Yeah,
kid would
it's too
act like the
much.
bully.
Too much.
But yeah, I mean, there's a reason this movie made 700 million worldwide. There's reason 2017, like you told me, is one of the biggest years ever financially for horror. This is just a movie that
100%.
connected on all cylinders, features good performances by kids, a solid Bill Skarsgård villain role, memorable visuals, well shot, good music. Yeah, I think it's just an all around crowd pleaser. It's
100%.
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that 2017, like, yeah, according to the Wikipedia page with the highest grossing horror films, it's got six horror films in the top 50, which is the most of any year, which is very interesting because I think, yeah, it was kind of like when things were starting to change, horror wise, and horror was starting to really like come into itself. And I love that this is one of those entries.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it did so well. And because the kids are so absolutely endearing. I watched the whole behind the scenes thing with them, and like they were really getting along super well. They're like, we're all best friends, we're hanging out, we're having fun. And it's so cool because they were like, most of them were like 13 at the time. So they're like, Barbara Muschietti, the producer, she was like, in some way, you know, at the end of the movie, they kind of all, like, I think realized not only were their own summer over and the movie was over, but no, childhood's over now. Like, you know, now it's time to grow up and whatever. The kids were also talking about the last scene that they did was the one where Stanley gets his face gets eaten by it. And that very emotional scene where afterwards, you know, they save him and then they all hug each other and they cry. So apparently it took them 3 days to film that. And that was like the last scene. And the kids were like, those were actual tears. Some of them were like, this was that first time that I've cried in a movie while doing a movie because it was just so real. And they all felt like they were saying goodbye to each other. And they, at that point, were so caring of each other because they really got along so well. And I think that dynamic really spilled over. I think the casting not only was great, but the dynamic between these kids and obviously the vibe that director Andy and the filmmakers and the crew and everyone created on set to make these kids feel comfortable really worked in its favor because gosh, they're just the cutest. Oh my word. And so I mean so many of them have went on to do really cool things. They're actually like they're great actors.
Mm-hmm.
And I think yeah, to do a movie like this, like I also it's interesting. So they were filming for like 2 months before any of the kids saw Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise for the first time, yeah. And they were like totally freaking out because I mean, what Bill stands at what like 64 or something,
Yeah,
like
big
he's
dude.
a big dude, and I mean, and he's so good. That face acting of his. I actually also yeah, I saw he was talking about you know that lip thing that he does where he like drops his bottom lip and then kind of protrudes it so that
It's
you can
very
see the inner
juicy.
side. So he's like apparently you know that's something he's been doing since he was a kid. And he's always wanting to bring that into a character. So he thought, okay, great, like I'll do it for it. And he said, like, yeah, he has a lazy eye, so that also kind of helped with like, you know, like the movement of his eyes and stuff. And it yeah, I mean, like I can imagine for all of them to because yeah, Muschietti, I keep on saying it wrong. Muschietti. How do you say that, Mark?
Yeah,
Muschietti.
Muschietti. Yeah, you got it.
Muschietti.
Yeah.
Cool. Because yeah, he was like, no, you know, he wants to keep it authentic when they all see it in the house together for the first time. So that was the first scene the kids got to do with Pennywise. And
I
I
tell
mean,
you,
and
I'm
Bill
real.
Skarsgård, oh my gosh, he's so good. Like he also did most of the stunts himself because he's apparently just like athletic like that. And I don't know. I love Bill Skarsgård in a horror movie. Like he should just do loads more of those because
Yeah,
he makes me
barbarian and
happy.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, he's really good.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like he's trying either. Sometimes if an actor takes over the role and they're not totally comfortable with it, they you can feel it. It doesn't feel
Right?
organic. But this role
Yes.
felt very organic for him. And I was watching a documentary about the making of the OG miniseries
Yeah.
and learning like all the actors who watched Tim Curry, they said they watched him going for it and they watched him have such creative freedom that they felt free. So I think being on set with Skarsgård, who was like in it, who was just in it, that had to have helped the kids. Like that should have like I think just having this guy to act against and the energy that he brings, it had to have helped the kids as well. And oh, I think I found something very interesting in the research. 2017, Muschietti is talking about the movie with Collider. He's like, the reason I took this movie is because of the kids. He's like, I'm not really looking forward to the second part with the adults. I don't find that interesting. So, and then he goes, so I made them bring the kids back. And that's what, I mean, not only is it almost 3 hours long, but at
Yeah.
chapter 2, he was not looking forward to making it. Like
Yeah.
he wasn't that interested and he said it. And so when I watch it chapter 2 now, I'm like, oh, okay. Like he just wanted this for the kids. That's why the
That
kids are
makes
back and
sense.
de-aged.
You should have just done the first one.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think you should do it in 2 movies. I think if you want to do the entire it should be a TV series. That's my personal opinion because there's just too much to do. You've got the timelines. I just think that the best way to actually, you know, execute that is through like, you know, serial episodic type of, you know, narrative. But I mean, yeah, he should have just done the first one. I think everybody kind of would have been okay with it because he
Yeah.
decided to take that from the book and do that and do it brilliantly. I mean, like the only thing that I kind of missed that was like different from the book, but that's just me. That's just my own bias because I love werewolves. Is Richie's whole werewolf thing, but I get why, like he said, yeah, you needed to change stuff because you can't have werewolves in Dracula that felt too like medieval and like oldish. You wanted to modernize it more. Okay, fine. But yeah, that was like the only like, yeah, I would have loved, to see the werewolf in it's, but I mean, that's literally like the rest was just so, I think it was very clever. I mean, by the time that they said, okay, we're going to get a sequel, I'm like, okay, so interesting choice again to split the narrative like this. But I mean, yeah, that makes total sense. Like, wanted to do it for the kids and with the kids, and that's why the first one is so much better. I mean, I think, yeah, the first one's so much better in a lot of ways.
And bring back the kids. And it's like that adds another hour to a long movie. If they have the adults, you have Chastain, you have Bill Hader,
a fantastic cast.
James McAvoy. Make it an hour and 45 minutes, tight, crush it, make that money. You have amazing actors.
TV series.
Yeah, the original is going to be a TV series with George Romero attached. But then he dropped out when the studio said that it was only going to be a 2-night thing as opposed to 8 episodes. We almost got a Romero miniseries.
Which studio was this?
The TV studio that released it. The TV and to their credit,
burn that studio. burn them to the ground.
Yeah, they were like, this is too much. So they they cut it down.
My poor heart.
But these kids though in this movie and just the line delivery and Finn Wolfhard's line delivery just nails it, like the beaver trapping and all that, like still is. And just when he asks for the kiss from Eddie's mom.
Yeah.
What is it about? I think Stephen King has always, he has had his problems with addiction and alcoholism. So in many of his books, the humans are the villains. Mr. Mercedes, Under the Dome. Like no matter what supernatural entity there is, there's still going to be what I forget his name, Jack from The Shining. There's still going to be an alcoholic dad. There's still going to be a terrible mom.
Yeah, even these protagonists are like highly flawed and like dark and have dark thoughts and stuff. Like no one's like these, saints or whatever, which is great because nobody is. But
it's just crazy in this movie, though. You have a scary clown. Then you have the most aggressive bullies who are going to write their name with a knife in someone's stomach. Like that's incriminating yourself, bro. Like if you see that name in there, wild serial killing bullies.
And I mean, clearly he gets away with it because that town, the adults in that town feels jack about anything. I mean, crazy.
Pennywise does that, right? Because Pennywise's presence in the town
suggests, exactly. That's why we see the shots with the old people driving in the car and then the balloon in the back of the car. It's kind of suggested that the whole town has just been corrupted by this dark entity that just, But I love it because like Muschietti actually remarked that like there's a passage in the book that reads, being a kid is learning how to live and being an adult is learning how to die. So there's a bit of a metaphor of that. Like, he says it just happens in like a very brutal way, but that's kind of the thing. So yeah, it's like the whole town, like the kids, the older folks, kind of like just like a, how do you say, something on life,
just everyone's horrible.
Like and bad things are going to happen and people are going to do terrible things to each other, and it's like even you've got this little love triangle going on between the kids, but it's not even cute. It's actually so sad and horrible, and it's like even like the supposed sweetest nice things aren't going to always feel so nice. And I mean, I love Jeremy Ray Taylor who played Ben. He just brought Ben to life for me. Oh my god! Like I'll do anything for Ben.
All these kids pop.
They're fantastic. Right? Yeah, Sophia also. I just love her. I love her to death. I was such a big fan. What was that series that got cancelled after season 1? I don't want to be here anymore. I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. Now that you're canceling it, it's so good and amazing. she's rad, and actually, yeah, featured like a couple of the it kids in that series. It was so good. It was
Yeah,
so much
this
fun.
but
More stuff with like girl rage.
I want to see her lead that too. She's in a new movie coming up with Michael Cera that I want to watch. And I was happy to see her in
Ah,
Dungeons and Dragons. I mean,
yeah.
she's fun in that movie, just in a
It's
big budget
nah.
flick.
Dude, she's one of those people that pops up for me, and I'm very happy to see her. I'm such a big fan. I love her to bits. She's awesome. But also interesting, did you see that Will Poulter was originally up to play Pennywise in this movie?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
He
Yeah.
he could have done it, I think.
Yeah, I think he could have. Like they said it was a different vision for the character, like completely different from what Muschietti, because that was when who was the guy that was up to direct
Corey
it? Oh, Kerry fucking Faganaka.
yeah.
Faganaka? What? It's the guy from No Time to Die and the first season of True Detective. He was originally going to direct it, and like that's when Will Poulter was. He was actually signed up to do it, and then things changed as it does with these kind of things. But yeah.
I mean, yeah, he started from what Muschietti said was he started getting pretty self-conscious about it. So that would have like I think he was all in, but then once he started getting a little self-conscious about it, then you can't bring that
Yeah.
guy in. Like you got to bring in a European maniac Skarsgård to
Yeah.
play this role. And he
Yeah.
nails it. And the one thing I don't really like, and it's going to be a very stock complaint about this movie, but I don't like all like the jittery camera stuff when like Pennywise is like bah, 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 like kind of running at people. That did
Yeah,
you notice that the first
same.
time around? Did
I
you like?
did, and every time I watch it, I'm like,
Mm,
yeah, like well now every time I watch it, I'm like, if it's done now, that they probably wouldn't have done it like that. I think it was an effect that we were still playing around with what we can do and can't do, and I mean, they didn't do a lot of CGI and like stuff for this movie, so I think in today's world, if you say let's reboot it after how many years, people like studios will throw all their money at it, and you'll probably have better effects to begin with. So I kind of chalk it up to that.
mhm.
But yeah, no, every time it's like, especially because it's fine the first time you see it. It's even fine the second time because I think there's like a bigger time lapse before it. But then like it starts, okay, we've seen this now. And it's not as jarring because they actually cut away. So I'm like, if you just kept it there, sure. But yeah, it's not as jarring as I think they hoped it to
Yeah.
be. But I chalk it down to that's just probably because I had to kind of do everything practical.
And I didn't notice it the first time. I really
Oh,
didn't. It
really?
didn't bother me the
I
first
did.
time. I
Oh, I did.
but then I think when I watch these things for the podcast, I think I look at it a lot more closely. It's like I
Yeah.
guess when I watch a
Yeah.
movie for the first time in a theater, I really just try to absorb it. Like I don't try
Yeah.
to I don't unless it's glaring and you're like, "Ooh, that took me out of it." Then I'll
That's the
feel it.
thing.
But
That's the
while
thing.
watching it, I just try to like let it hit me. And I
Yeah.
guess that never bothered me. But watching this again, you have the
It
scenes
takes
with
me out of it.
the scenes with the
Yeah.
leper, the scenes with the headless smoking person, the scenes with the woman from the portrait, the Pennywise scenes. And they feel like there's about 15 of them. And it was a very conscious choice, but it works best when he's in the sewer, right? When he's talking to Georgie with this weird cadence and the overhead shots. And it works best when he has the arm waving the arm back and forth, which is like one of the creepiest things I've ever seen to Mike when he is,
Right. Oh,
I am
word.
real. Like I am I real
That's the
now? Like
I eat baby parts.
just
I eat
like
babies.
not the zombies, right? Not the weird cuts. I,
Yeah.
and listen, this movie made 700 mil. People love it.
Mhm.
It's a blockbuster film, so I think it's a very minor criticism. But I guess I just started noticing it, and then I noticed it again. Then I noticed it again,
That's so
and
funny.
it
Yeah.
it yeah, I that's bad though. I think when you rewatch a movie and then you kind of that's the natural progression of watching a film though. Many times is that you start noticing things about it, and then if you watch it 3 times, you're probably not going to notice something when you watch it on the 6th time because you're just watching and watching. But yeah,
True, you'll eventually get used to it, I guess.
yeah, and
I guess. I don't know.
it's fine, but it's also just not scary. Like the scariest
It's
moments for me
not.
in this movie, right, are the waving the hand in the field, the scene with Georgie, which listen, I forget who said it, but a director's like the fake rain in the beginning of It 2017 is amazing. And I gotta agree. I get very annoyed with fake
Yeah.
rain, incredible fake rain. The kid is just the kid who plays Georgie, Jackson Robert Scott, the cutest kid on the planet.
The cutest.
And then he's crawling with his arm bit off with a blood trail. Like it hits. It's a gnarly,
It does.
it's a gnarly opener to the movie. And I think but it's okay. So it's a trope of Stephen King to have gnarly bullies, like very gnarly,
very like vicious, ruthless bullies.
Yeah, but
bad.
The kids in this, I think these kids, the bullies in this movie, take me out of it too, because like we know that the kid's abused at home by his dad, but like all the other kids have horrifying. All the kids in this town have horrifying home lives. It's like this kid, I guess, is just, I don't know. It's like having a serial. It's an interesting thing. All the parents are terrible. You have a serial killer, bully, and a clown. Like the kid just felt like a lot. So I mean, what do you think about the bullies in this movie? Are they like? It's not necessary.
I mean, I don't think actually it bothered me that much because they didn't have a lot of screen time. I think if they were used more, it would have been too much for me. But they actually didn't. Like, and I mean, yeah, like Henry's a piece of shit. But I mean, I feel nothing for him because he tries to shoot a cat. So, you know, that's just me going like, okay, I feel nothing for you now. But I mean, yeah, I guess like he was like kind of just, I think you kind of need Henry to show the balance, the other side, because the loser club, they're all kind of victims. None of them have done anything to deserve what has happened to them. You know, like, I mean, Beverly didn't, what did she do to have her dad do to her what, you know, he does? What did any of them, like, they're just like victims of their circumstances and their terrible parents or whatever. Where Henry is too, but like where the others try to be better, like kids and people and together, Henry like reacts the opposite because he's just like, he's really evil. Like he's a little serial killer. Like he wants to shoot cats and like hurt kids. And he's like bad, 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 bad. So it's not even that. And yeah, it shows like, yeah, he also gets abused. So I guess that's just like a not very nuanced play on it, I guess. But I mean, I think he just shows the contrast of that. It's like, yeah, not every person that gets abused or is a victim is necessarily innocent. Like the Losers Club are like more innocent in this, you know, context, where Henry isn't though. Yeah. Henry would have done bad things probably regardless of whether he's dead, you know, because I'm sorry, don't just get abused and then kill animals and torture children. That's actually an anomaly percentage wise in the world. So yeah, I guess it was just a balance, you know, you had to show like, you know, the kids trying to be their outcast, but they're at least trying to, you know, be better versions of themselves or whatever and get through this, because I think it is a lot about survival too. It's survivalism. Everyone's just trying to survive. But then how do people try to survive? Do they try to do it without hurting other people, or do they try to do it by doing exactly that? So I didn't really mind it. It's a lot though. I mean, even when I read King's books, his bullies is a lot. Like it's rough. It's not a fan. Yeah, like I'm not a fan of bullies in real life either. So
the two books that have messed me up the most are Dr. Sleep. We've talked about that on the episode when I woke up screaming one night thinking Rose the Hat was going to kill me. And then Mr. Mercedes, which that book, there's like there's an Alzheimer, for lack of a better term, couch mom who are, you know, like like the single mom who's an alcoholic and just lays on the couch. Like there's that trope, like, and that mom and Mr. Mercedes and her relationship with the kid. I remember reading the book and then just walk. I'd have to go for a walk. Like this is
exactly. You need to go for a walk.
What's going on, Stephen King? Like what's happening with you? And It really did mess me up. But this,
Exactly.
this story too, I find it interesting because I caught glimpses of this as a kid when I was about 9 or 10. I was at a friend's house where I watched, actually, I just watch all R-rated movies everywhere, but this was a TV show. And I remember watching this and having images burnt into my memory from Tim Curry and just the overall like
Mm.
unhealthiness of this. So
Yeah.
there's something about King's works that really get under my skin. But
He
yeah,
really
this
is
is
good also at like taking like idyllic small town vibes that people will think, oh, that's nice out in the countryside. And then just kind of like opens them up and exposes the rot, that like lies beneath. He's just so good at doing that. And like I say, countryside, but then like he also does like the exact same thing with people. Like, just like, oh, like even I love that because you get that again in his books more than usually like the adaptations. But like, the little kids in the book with it, like they've got some bad thoughts about each other, though. Like, I mean, in the movie, Ben and Bill, like Big Bill, they don't like, get snippy with each other. There are looks and so about Beverly, but like in the book, they've got like, some terrible thoughts towards each other because yeah, again, I love that layering of it. And I think, yeah, because we know the books, we actually do get that coming through in the movie without it being so pertinently, shown or said. Um, but
just
also I love how sweet they made this movie too. Like I
that's
think
why
it
it
worked.
works. The
Yeah,
sweetness, I think, is what does it. And I know I said
exactly.
it before, but these kids pop quick.
They
Like
pop.
this
Yeah.
this is I very rarely see this in cinema where you just go, who are these kids? Like these are good kids. And yeah, like they said, they all got along really well. And I also do like the idea to move it to the 80s. I like the idea of, Andy didn't want to have a modern clown. He doesn't think they're scary, so they went back to having like a 1900s clown, like a very
Yes.
like old-timey clown. And I think
Yes.
all the changes worked for the better on this. And also too, I like that he doesn't idealize the 80s. Like sometimes when people and
100%.
I hate when people go like idealize the 50s. It's like, yo, I get
Yeah, really.
where you grew up, you idealize this. But watching some of these movies, you're like, hey, y'all, like I'm not saying I need to know every single issue that's going on, but I'm very happy that the 80s weren't just this perfect time of nostalgia and uh, there's New Kids on the Block reference, there's video game references, stuff like that. But it was refreshing to kind of go back to this small town and not have it be like an idealized version or a Capra-esque
Exactly.
type thing. This is one of the
Exactly.
nastiest towns I've ever seen in a film before. Like
Yeah.
this is whoo, geez, Louise, Derry. I mean, the clown's been screwing them
Very.
up for years. But
Yeah.
you know what? You know what I think is my favorite moment in this movie is the librarian when she's in the background watching. That's
I love that scene.
that's when it's at its best, right?
Oh,
Like just
exactly. It's just like in the background, and you don't know what it is, and you don't know what's going to happen, but it's there,
yeah,
and it can be anything. And I mean, that's the beauty of it. It can be anything. So you don't know what is he going to pop out as. Like I think the concept of it and the universe of it is actually so big, and you can just do so much with it. And you're absolutely right. That is the best moments, those moments where why is that woman standing
yeah.
there a bit blurred out in the background? No, 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 that doesn't look right. What's happening?
Because like Pennywise can take people over then. Like Pennywise can control it. And you know what's interesting? I've noticed a lot of complaints about this movie that like I read some articles about how Pennywise is terrible at Pennywising. I've read that like why doesn't Pennywise just kill people immediately? But I think the whole point of this is Pennywise wants to create terror. Pennywise wants to destabilize. Pennywise wants to create fear. So if you have abusive parents, you have more fear in children, right? And then if kids are abused at home, some of them will take out their anger on other kids. So he's destabilizing an entire town to feed
To
off of it, correct?
create fear,
Yeah.
exactly, to feed off of it, exactly.
And a lot of people are like, yeah, well, he gets kids in fields and then they escape. But I think it's a game to Pennywise. Like, and also these kids have The Shining. when the more you read these books, like you realize these kids have powers. These kids can
Yep.
see, and
Yep.
you read this further and you look into it. Even later on in the book, they have feelings. They can feel this. They can see things like other people probably can't see these things. So I think
Yeah.
these kids do have the shining. So I think Pennywise is just having just destroying a town from the inside, but then these kids who have some powers fight back, and Pennywise isn't suspecting that.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way.
Exactly.
That's kind of the way I take it. And yeah, I did read something funny, and I kind of want to read what you think about this. Like most of the scares in it come not from the. This is from The Ringer. Come not from the murder clown, but from a soundtrack whose oral features can best be described as Goose Attacks Youth Orchestra. They're yeeks, shrooshes, and bungs, and humanity's creepiest noise of all, the distant sound of children giggling. It's all very loud, except for the stretches when it is very quiet, which are reliably followed by very loud blood gushing. The sounds are, I think, indisputably the scariest parts of the movie. If you sat in a big room with a sticky floor and all the lights off and played only the movie soundtrack at maximum theater volume, you would probably jump at all the same places. Clown and sewage zombie army be damned. What do you think about that? Did you notice the soundtrack, or do you think that's too harsh?
I mean, that's a bold statement. I think if you're going to say it, then you're going to have to go and actually, experience it and tell us if that is true. If you're actually going to jump in all those places. No, listen. I love the scoring in general. For it, there are some sounds that I dig. There are some sounds that doesn't do anything for me, honestly. I mean, I think it's a good balance. I don't disagree with the fact that the sound definitely brought some of the scares, but yeah, I don't know if I would go as far as
Yeah,
as to say like that. Yeah, that's what made it scary. I don't know because
yeah,
like we say, the it's those little things in the background that just and even just like the kids sometimes just the kids expressions and reactions to like thinking something or feeling something or they're just like something's not okay. I mean the acting was also very
yeah,
effective.
yeah,
Like for me, when everyone starts screaming and going off, you actually lose me. That doesn't create tension. Hysteria doesn't like do anything for me. It annoys me, so it takes me out of it. So yeah, I'm not really all for that type of scary dynamics. I can understand how that can be scary for other people, but I guess that's a very subjective. I think that's a very subjective argument.
hmm
um, I think it has some merits, but I personally won't go as far as like
I
that's a
gotcha.
bold statement.
Yeah, it's a bold statement, but I kept finding a lot of places like Pennywise is bad at what Pennywise does, but I think so many killers in horror movies are bad at what they do, and I think
100%.
I think too in this movie there is a funhouse vibe to it, to that the scenes where
He's a
the
clown. He's playful. He
exact
plays with his food.
when Eddie
I
gets attacked in
mean,
the field, right? When Beverly gets hit in the bathroom, when Mike sees the hand. Mike does not have a lot to do in this, which is kind of crazy. Like for 45 minutes, he doesn't say anything.
yeah, that's also kind of a thing
Come
for
on,
me.
Andy.
Like,
Come
yeah, I would
on,
have
man.
liked more of Mike. And I mean, like, Mike was in the book. He was the one who like did all the research and the
Yeah.
historical things. That's why he becomes the librarian when he's older. So it was a weird thing to give all that to Ben. That was another thing from the book that I was like, yeah, okay. But then I kind of liked how, they like gave Mike this, terrible backstory. And again, like because that fed into the survivalist thing that every character like needs to survive. So yeah, like the whole burning thing. So you see the burned hands. I mean, Mike's big. Like the first time Mike sees it, oh my gosh, and that like meats, like
Mm-hmm.
what do you call it? Like weird
The meat
butchery thing
locker,
that
yeah.
behind the yeah. Oh, words are escaping me. The scene when Mike sees, that's also so good. So good.
Yeah, just watching their home lives, seeing each kid, seeing their interactions. Like, I just think that they're the kid who gets killed in the sewer. I think it's, I think this movie's also aimed at. I think it's rated R, but I think Andy Muschietti wanted to really market this kids to. You know how many kids watch it when they were children that shouldn't have? So he knows kids are going to watch this movie. So
Yeah.
if you give them, we adore this movie. I love this movie, but if you drop
Yes.
like the Black Coat's Daughter, it style on people, they're gonna be like
Yeah,
you need.
exactly.
He knew young kids were gonna watch this movie, and so to have that, like, I mean, 700 million, a lot of kids watch this movie, so
You know?
it's he wanted to have that funhouse vibe. Keep the energy up, keep the energy up, keep the energy up. Like, this movie has jump scares every 5 minutes, maybe. And if it doesn't, then it has an angry bully. It has a cop dad getting his throat slit. It has the creepiest mom ever. It has the grossest pharmacist on the planet. Like, it's a movie that
Oh,
it like
gross. That
it
guy.
does this weird, like, there's like unsettling moments, there's jump scares, there's kid moments, there's and the humor too. In It Chapter 2, the humor sometimes stops the movie flat, right?
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
grinds it to a halt.
It's almost like they started focusing too much on it. Like the
Uh,
first one felt effortlessly. It's
yeah.
just like the kids yapping. The second one was like, listen to me, make a joke. I'm Bill Hader. I don't know. I'm so sad because again, such a fantastic cast, and I just didn't. But I just want to say something like that's also an example of where you can see how Andy, catered. You're absolutely right. Like, brought it down and not like this crazy R-rated just for adults movie is Eddie's mom, because in the book, Eddie's mom is the worst. She is horrible. But the movie makes her look like a Roald Dahl character. She feels like something from Matilda or something. Like, she's almost too quirky. I'm like, no, Eddie's mom. I mean, it comes across what she's doing to her kid, but in the book, oh, she was like horrible. I was like, what? This woman. But yeah, I mean, that would have been too dark for kids to do. So I get that. Like, but yeah, it's interesting, I guess. Like, yeah, if you're going to do it just for adults, and you can do all of these other terrible things that we know. I
Listen,
think the balance works though, because this makes it evergreen. It makes it a movie that'll last, just like Stand By Me and like all these movies about, the kids being essential part of stuff, and like their coming of age journeys and whatever. Like, yeah, I think the fact that they did this was clever, just because it will be an evergreen movie forever.
yeah, and I think that works too. You have the fun jump
Yes, it
scares.
does.
You keep the energy up. It just works. Like, this does not. I've watched this. I tried to watch this a couple times, but this does not feel like a 2 hour and 15 minute movie.
It
It doesn't.
doesn't.
No.
It really
And
doesn't.
I think I
I
think
enjoy it a lot
do
though.
you think
So
the
I
only time
guess.
that people complain about length of films is when it's It Chapter 2 and you feel that? Like, but here's the thing. Thor Love and Thunder, I think, is under 2 hours. But that movie, when I walked out of it, I'm like, that felt like 3 hours to me,
Oh
because
wow, yeah, that's
the
true.
tension kept getting broken, like with the jokes.
Yeah,
The jokes nailed it, like it braked it every single time. And so there's no flow of the movie. And then you're like, man, that
exactly.
was long. But when you drop
Exactly.
like a 3 hour flick, that's just awesome. And you can just roll with it. Like Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. I'll watch that thing whenever it's on. I don't care. Like, it just
Oh,
rolls.
dude, the
Right?
extended cuts. Like I just
Yeah,
put
give
it
me the
on and I'm
extended
very
cuts.
happy. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
give me the
100%.
extended
I
cuts.
would
Yeah.
probably do the same with Doctor Sleep extended cuts, and I'll probably do the same with the Wailing extended cut. Like, yeah, I could probably do another half an hour on both those movies, because it's just so good and well put together. And it's the same thing. It too, not so much, but the first one, absolutely. Like, I love, because the kids were like, I think it was Finn who plays Richie, who said, when they were doing a behind the scenes things, he said something about, yeah, I guess we could have done more character development, but I mean, then you'll have a 4 hour movie, which I guess no one would want to see. But I mean, we would love doing it because we love doing it. And I'm like, and it's so funny. But also, you're right. But also, the movie didn't need it because the characters were already so well developed. But would I've wanted to see another half an hour with these kids? Yes, I would.
Yeah.
Yes, I totally would. Maybe we would have time to throw in the werewolf and give Richie something.
Because
It's
it's hitting
like,
on all cylinders, right? This movie hits on the cylinders, and also I
it
think
really
the
does.
costume design is wonderful as well. Uh, Poor Megan has. I worked in commercials for many years, and poor Megan has to hear it every time a commercial comes on. I complain about the wardrobe, because every single character wears brand new wardrobe, and they
Oh,
all
yeah.
look like commercial commercial actors. All have sort of this same cadence and look, and all of their clothes is just brand new, just brand new, and I hate it. I can't
Ironed
stand it.
out. Ironed out. Who irons their clothes anymore? It's so unrealistic.
I can't stand it. But this movie, it doesn't go too heavy on the nostalgia. And I think the kids' wardrobe have a very nice sort of
Authentic look.
yeah, like very
Eddie with his little
authentic.
shorts and his
Yeah.
almost like oversized t-shirts. And I mean, listen, yeah, props to Jack Dylan Grazer who played Eddie. He was so funny. Like
Oh
he
my
was
gosh, yeah.
at times funnier than Richie for me. I mean, he just had this little snap, like snappy deliverance. And I just loved it. They were all
And
great.
his little polos, I feel like someone wore that polo around for
What?
2 years before he wore it. Like they found such good wardrobe for these kids, and I think once again, just the that's where it's the best for me. Like seeing the jiggly. I don't know if I want to watch it again because of Pennywise is like "Bah, bah, bah, bah." Like it throws me off. I just want the kid scenes. Give me actually I want a
You'll get
werewolf now.
over it. You'll
Guys,
get over
I want
it.
a werewolf now too.
It's like it's not even 3 second long scenes. Like,
I gotta
so
say the scene that made me the most like I understood why Andy did it, but when it takes the form of that woman to scare one of the kids. I gotta get his name. I switched on. I went to the cinematographer's name on IMDb. No, I hate not knowing
oh,
the
because
name
I
of
want
the
to talk about him too.
when he
Chuck
goes
Owen.
after. Oh man, what's the kid's name? Henry. No, not Henry. When he goes after. This is killing me. Bill? No, not
Which
Bill.
old woman?
Oh yeah, the
Which
tall.
old woman?
What? Oh,
Where?
Stanley. When he goes after Stanley. Mark, why do I forget that?
Oh, the portrait lady.
Yeah, the portrait lady.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then like
yeah.
the portrait lady goes after Stanley, but then disappears, and then it pops back as Pennywise going, "It was me the whole time." Like, I knew it was you the whole
Little
time.
creep.
But like I knew, like I don't know, that was the one scene that I kind of went like he had to spell it out for the audience just to let people know that there's not 40 different
Yeah, because
creatures.
Mark, people won't necessarily get it. And remember also like kids won't necessarily get it. So
Yeah, that's true. I get it,
like
but I
we
was like,
said.
ugh. I want to say the cinematographer Chung Hee
I love
Chung,
it because it's so
yeah,
playful.
right.
Sorry.
The dude
Yeah.
worked for Park Chan Wook. Like the guy shot Old Boy,
Old
the
boy
guy shot
first.
Handmaiden, Last Night in Soho, Stoker. The guy shot Thirst, which is like one of my favorite movies. Like this guy is just absolutely incredible who shot this movie. And I mean, this is a dude who shot Old Boy. So
I love Stoker. It's such an underrated film, and I love it. Like it's art to watch.
art to
Like
watch.
Chung Chung Hoon, like yeah, just amazing cinematographer. I love what he does, and yeah, it made me happy too. Like when I was like, okay, so he was a cinematographer on this film. Oh my gosh! And he did all these great stuff. Like yeah,
Yeah.
really, really good. I mean, we've got one of the best overhead shots in a horror movie. So good. Like the Georgia scene, so good. Creepy, so good.
Hey, do you want to talk? Do you want to talk? I was kind of
Let's.
bummed. Real quick, he shot Obi-Wan Kenobi, and there's a couple shots in Obi-Wan Kenobi where Megan and I had to stop and look up the budget of the film and looked at it, had to film it during COVID and why the sets were so cheap. But Obi-Wan Kenobi, I had a great time watching it, but there's some of the flattest shots I've ever seen with like very few extras. And then when I found out that who shot it, I'm like, what happened on set? Like I don't think I could ever directly ask anybody like, why does that look so bad? But I was amazed that he shot that when it looked so flat. So, but I heard that everyone like rushed it and the scripts were still sort of being written. Favreau and Filoni weren't really long around and they just sort of had to book it through. So I think that led to some
Um,
shots that weren't great. That's my best explanation. But overhead shots,
Interesting.
overhead
I can't
shots.
even remember that. I just remember I loved Obi-Wan Kenobi actually. But
It was
interesting.
the scene where they storm that base and they have a gunfight where everyone's 10 feet away from each other shooting at each other and no one gets hit, and then like there's that
Classic Star Wars.
it's just like it was bad, and even for Star Wars standards. But hey, do you want to talk? I want to do something real quick. I didn't want to
Let's
drop this
do
on you, but I
it.
do think my favorite rock scene throwing moments in horror films, I just got to drop them on you. The
Okay.
Wailing, which we talked about, great rock throwing.
Yes.
Tremors, I love the rock throwing. They just throw the rocks to get the tremor going. Godzilla throws a couple great rocks. And then Labyrinth, Jennifer Connelly throws some good
Oh
rocks.
yes.
So
Nice,
yeah,
nice, nice.
I had to talk
And
about
then
some.
it's a
Yeah.
good rock fight. Gnarly. Corey's like, well, they all have concussions now.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Has Pennywise made children's skulls harder?
What? No,
Because a
what?
rock would crack your head straight open.
Okay, but they're not boulder rocks. Like they're little rocks.
A sharp little
So,
rock hitting you in the face.
I mean, they did bleed.
Mhm. That's fair. I mean, kids are resilient, right?
But I mean, yes, like, concussions. Maybe that's why Henry's the way he is.
He's been hit by too many
You know how
rocks.
many serial killers were like in accidents and hit their heads and had bad concussions, and then something just tripped.
They're gonna
Go check it
find
out.
there's gonna be
There's
data
numbers
on
on
that
it.
now. 9 out of 10 serial killers have been hit in the head by rocks.
Have David Fincher do the origin of Henry Bauer.
In Mine Hunters, they're sitting there talking about this, like, hey, he used to live near a quarry. Do you think he got hit in the head by a rock?
This reminds me of the Bauer kid. Little Henry Bauer Easter eggs.
Holt McCallany's like, have you been to Derry? That place is crazy. Like, we sent agents down there and they went bad.
It's gonna be bad.
Don't ever go to Derry.
Can't be as bad as Derry.
All right, so let's do our favorite overhead shots of horror cinema. What do you think?
Of horror?
Of anything.
Instead of any.
Anything.
Yeah, no, of any.
Any.
Of any.
Let's do any. I love overhead shots.
I mean, I have like mostly horror, but yeah, like let's branch it out because, or yeah, overhead shots is so great. I mean, like I think one of our first podcast episodes that I did with you was Candyman, which starts off with that fantastic, like really groundbreaking shots, really, the way they use it and the new technology and stuff. And I mean, yeah, like this Georgie shot of it is just amazing. But okay, yeah. Since we talked about Star Wars, I am going to, the Revenge of the Sith shots where Anakin marches those troops into the temple to go and do the nasty. It's kind of in tune with it.
Yeah.
No, go kill some kids. Anakin with his. I just love that shot though because it's so great with like it's black and white, and like it's in the shadows but in the light. But then the floor is a cross, but he's like going the opposite direction, so it's an upside down cross in this white light. And oh, I love that shot. It's so good. It's my only critic. It's too short. I would have loved that shot to just like 2-3 seconds longer. So beautiful.
I love that you sent that to me. Listen, I like the prequels. I don't care. There's stuff I like in all of them.
I am a big fan. Love it.
Stuff so to like. Fun. One of my favorite shots of all time is in Attack of the Clones when the clone troopers are walking into battle and there's all the like dust rising and just the scope of it was gigantic. Man. And I love that shot. So
exactly.
All right, so we have Revenge of the Sith. I'm going to take Malignant, the spider cam shot by James Wan, which they they recreated in John Wick 4. Hey, with Skarsgård in it again. But I remember watching Malignant and just seeing that shot and then just going, I love you, James Wan. I love you. Like I said it too. I was like, I think out loud, I love you, James Wan. And just like they built the house and the grid in a soundstage to time with that shot. And I show it to my students and they're like, holy crap. Like that's the James Wan special. Like when you watch one of his movies now, you're going to get a spider cam shot. You're going to get something that you just go, wow, that's James Wan. And he is wonderful. So yeah, just watching that shot and seeing how I love the spider cam shot. I love it.
It is good. I want to watch Malignant now. Yeah, it is. It's fun. And yeah, it's really fun movie. Okay. I'm gonna go with 30 Days of Night, the Big Barrowtown Massacre. And that the overhead shot of the Big Barrowtown Massacre.
Oh, yes.
So that is so cool because the whole sequence starts off and you've got overhead shots, but then it's also close up and it's like in the fight. And then it cuts back to overhead and close up. And then by the end of it, you just have this silent overhead shot that tracks throughout the town. And it's quiet, but you just see people. And again, it shows the scope of what's really happening. Oh, I love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it.
Oh, following the person with the shotgun and then just watching the carnage. Like that's such an ingenious shot. And Ebert wrote a review about it, about that movie and how much and he borrowed someone else's review talking about how beautiful that shot is in a vampire movie, like a stock vampire movie, but you have this baller shot. Like you're making me very happy.
It's so brilliant because it's in the snow and it's dark but you've got the bit of light and then the blood. So it's this snow and this white, and then the contrast of the blood. Like it's so, yeah, it's really ingenious. Just such a freaking good sequence and great use of overhead tracking.
I
Love
get
it.
so excited. I want to go pull a Footloose in a abandoned warehouse because I like that scene so much. What a great moment.
Let's do it.
All right, so I'm gonna go with an older one, but one that really affected me when I first watched it, and that's in Psycho when Detective Arbogast gets killed when he goes up to the second floor, and then
Oh
Norman,
yeah.
dressed as his mother, busts out, and then he falls down the stairs. But it's just that overhead shot when the mother runs out of the door and gets him and pushes him down. That's a
Yes. Whoa.
woo,
Good one.
what a
Good
shot.
one.
Yeah, not him falling down the
Ooh,
stairs, but the moment right before it when Arbogast gets got, and it's
exactly.
ah.
I forgot about that scene. I'm like literally having goosebumps. Like, yeah, that's an excellent one. Good, yeah. You see
I
how
did a lot of punch
effective it can
dancing while
be.
putting this list together. You can tell because I'm so excited.
Super excited. Okay, I'm going to turn now to our favorite, our one of our favorite apex creatures, and give you the one where is it a croc? Is it a gator? Swims through the water in X. I love that shot. I love that shot more than I love that movie. Like I really, really,
Yeah,
I'm such a oh, it's
it's
so
so good.
beautiful. It's so
It's a
beautiful.
high overhead shot too. It's like a bird's eye shot. Like it's way
It's
up
like
there.
exactly like I tried to get like a screenshot from the movie and you can't. You it's something you need to see in the film. You just can't really like there are many screenshots on the internet that all look shitty because you
Mhm.
need to watch it in the movie. You need to watch the scene. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And like it's a big ass croc.
Yeah,
Like it's a big fella,
big fella.
a long fella.
And so it just and it's a smart thing because we know it's there, but she doesn't, and it sets up a nice tension involved with that. And then it's Chekhov's what alligator croc whatever, and it's yeah.
Exactly,
I just love the
exactly.
shot. I remember when I first saw X. I remember like this movie gets an immediate B plus because of this shot.
Yes, it immediately elevated. Well, like I'll never forget the movie because I'll never forget that shot. So
Mhm.
I just love it.
So good.
Okay, give me your favorite croc
Oh well,
alligator
I'm gonna switch
overhead
to
shot.
Gators, Florida Gator, and Crawl, the bathroom a fight.
There we
Now we have the
go.
awesome shot when the father and daughter are outside of their house, but the bathroom fight when she's in the
Oh
tub and the
man.
Gator's outside and she traps it in there. But that overhead shot, and you knew it. You assisted me on that. But yeah, it's
Yep.
oh,
But
Crawl
I mean,
is
we love it so much because it like it's it has to be because it when I saw Girl the first time and I saw that shot, it made me think of the Deep Blue Sea where they're like in the tunnel thing and like shark is going in circles. Like it immediately made me think of that. So I
mhm.
mean, that had to be like an inspiration or something, or at least in the back of their minds, because I mean, and that's why I love it even more. Like it's yeah,
And it makes the character look awesome
okay,
too because she had to think fast. And I think when
exactly.
you make a movie and create situations in which your characters have to be smart, that's a smart move because then you're with the characters. And just watching Kaya
Sometimes,
do that and
yeah.
watch like the over I
Sometimes you need to use a microwave to kill a shark.
that's right.
Got to be on your toes, people. Like,
I, I still can't believe that Crawl didn't get a press screening because the studio was worried about what critics were thinking about it.
are you
And like, yeah,
serious? I
Crawl
didn't
went
know
on to make
that.
about 65 to 70 million worldwide, which is good, but it did so with no studio support. It did it all with word of mouth because the studio stopped really promoting it. I remember watching and being like, well, I guess this is going to be bad because they're not doing press screenings. Because traditionally,
Yeah.
when you don't do a press screening, you don't really have much faith in the movie. And then I watched it. I'm like, this is badass. Like, this movie is good. This is a good movie. So, yeah, Crawl's
How
awesome.
many times have we watched Crawl? Like,
Not
I
enough.
mean, probably, yeah, not enough, but probably a dozen times
Yeah,
between
easy.
just the two of us. Like, it's a really good movie. It's like a really good movie. It's not a lot of good crocodile alligator movies. There aren't. Like, it's a lot of, yeah, like people trying stuff, and we love that too. But I mean, Crawl is actually good. It's
Actually good.
actually so it's actually crazy to hear. Yeah, maybe people just think, yeah, people wouldn't care about croc movies, but I mean,
I
how
bought the
could they
vinyl. I
think
have the
that?
soundtrack. I have the vinyl
That's so
soundtrack.
wrong.
Oh, What's your? Are
Okay,
we on the fourth pick already? This is flying by.
we're on the fourth one. So I'm picking the movie that I finally saw and I adored more than the original, even because it's so good. And it's when the first three Megs like came from the trench and approaches in Meg to the trench. So freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Great overhead shots of Meg sharks like finally coming to the surface. I loved it. I
Yeah.
was like, when I watched it, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna talk about this to Mark.
Meg 2 is fun.
Dude, I wasn't bored for a second. That movie whooshed by. I was in it from the beginning. The first half was tense. The second half unleashed it all into crazy funness. It was, I laughed, I cheered. I was having a ball, a whale of a time.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the relationships between everyone. Like, a lot of it worked. In many ways, it was better than the first one for me, honestly.
It's way better.
I don't know what people are on about. Meg to the Trench is fun personified. It's fun.
Our buddies at
Have
Last Action
some
Heroes
fun.
podcast love it too. They watch and are like, what's the
Yes.
deal? Like, what? This is
Yes.
fun. It's fun.
Right? I'm like, boo with the fun police.
Yeah.
I told Corey, I personally think critics, the problem with critics today is they get paid because when you start treating anything like a job, it all goes shit. Like,
What do you like? What's the and there's like this weird thing, like the first half sucks, and you're like, no, the first half is fun.
no.
And then too many people are like, hey, the first half is like underwater. I'm like, wait, you were just comparing underwater to Alien.
Oh, and
I love
yeah,
it.
now everyone's like, oh yeah, underwater is actually great. Like, yeah, we've been saying it. You said it sucks.
Many times.
Yeah, so yeah, give it a couple of years and people will say this is also it's actually a good movie.
Barf.
Anyway, let's move on. Barf.
So I'm gonna do,
You
and we
can
talked about
cut
this
and
a lot.
edit this out.
I'm gonna do this Deep Blue Sea, the bird eating. I have to have the
Yes.
bird eating because
Yes.
the reason I'm including this is the shark looks awesome in it. You watch that scene again when the bird gets eaten on YouTube or wherever. That shark by Walt Conti looks incredible. And I love that like
Nice.
they had a marine biologist or a I forget what, but like watch the movie and she was watching, she's like, those sharks are really good. Like she said,
Yeah.
those are Makos. And she's like, she was marveling at how great the sharks look. And I was like, yeah, I know, because Deep Blue Sea is a good movie. And they picked
Exactly.
Makos for a very smart reason. But yeah, it's a cool shot. The bird gets eaten. I feel bad for the bird, but it just looks awesome. It looks
It really
incredible.
does. No, you're so right. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we all keep pointing like Deep Blue Sea because and even if you think it's a 90s movie, like and how they did that, how they made those sharks, like they look really, really good. I love
Really
that
good.
movie. Really
This is getting me
good.
pumped up. I love overhead shots.
Listen, yeah, we're gonna go do a lot of dancing after
The
this. Okay.
maniac on the
Okay. So for my last one, so yeah, this is also again like not a different thing. Sorry, I didn't know we were only gonna do horrors, so I didn't do just horrors, but I
No,
love
no,
this
we'll do
overhead
whatever.
shots, and it's a classic. And I feel like you can't talk about overhead shots if you don't talk about the one where they lie on the ice and stare at the stars in Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless
Oh
Mind.
yeah.
I mean, it's such a good shot they use it for stills. I mean, it's just beautiful, beautiful. The composition of that shot, like the contrast with it, the moment, the context of it all,
Awesome.
it's
And like
fantastic work.
what a great and like that's everywhere too. When you see a photo for that movie, if
Yeah,
you just type in Eternal Sunshine and you click on
exactly.
images, it's there and it looks
It's still
great.
there.
Oh yeah, and also the Master pops up a lot. The overhead shot for the Master with Joaquin Phoenix. There's some really cool overhead
Yeah.
shots. I love
Yeah.
that. I need to watch that movie again. I was just talking about the Virgin Suicides with Johnny Numb and talking about how Kirsten Dunst has just crushed it for so long. Kirsten Dunst, she's
Yeah,
awesome.
dude. Yeah.
Melancholia, like she
And
has
she's
some
been doing her thing.
cool movies.
Very, very cool stuff. Very interesting projects that she's decided to do throughout her career. That's very true.
Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet are so good in that movie. It's like so good.
Yeah, both of them. I think like yeah, they're both just impressed because it was something different for the both of them,
Yeah.
to do. And I yeah, I like when I studied drama, me and a friend we did the bus scene from that film, and we crushed it. But it was like one of the funniest, but also one of the most difficult scenes that I ever actually had to do. It was very interesting, like, because you can watch something, you're like, oh, this is fine, until you try and do it, and you're like, whoa, okay. But yeah, no, it's so great. They really they brought their A game, both of them.
Oh, it's so
good movie.
So good. I'm gonna end with Fall. There's an overhead shot in Fall when they're on top of the tower. I was watching that movie. The way that they were able to capture the scale of like how high they are, it's really impressive. Like they made that movie just hoping people would go see it in the theater. I wasn't able to catch it, but like I saw it on a big screen in my home. But the way that they're able to capture scale, and there's a couple overhead shots that just really showcase the isolation and just how crazy it is. And that movie visually has really stuck in my memory. So yeah, I had to do the overhead shot from Fall.
Cool.
Hey, and real quick, I asked on Facebook for people to give me their favorite. Oh, I got a lot of answers. I asked people to give me their favorite Stephen King film or TV adaptation.
Cool. Let's hear it.
Adaptation. Did I spell that right?
Adaptation. Adaptation.
So James Donovan said The Stand and Langoliers. And then he wrote, man, Bronson Pinchot. Bronson Pinchot.
Pinchot.
And then Ron Tornis said Shawshank Redemption, Stand By Me, and It. David Brooke said Stand By Me is my favorite. For horror, Kubrick's The Shining. Obvious choices, but I love them both too much to not give them my vote. And that's totally fine. If something that is obvious is still awesome, like Jaws is like one of my favorite films ever. It's obvious, but it's awesome. So
yeah, no, for sure, absolutely.
And then Aaron Newworth put The Shining first, then Carrie, The Mist, Stand By Me, Dead Zone, Misery, Shawshank, Dolores Claiborne.
I love Carrie. Carrie so much.
Dolores Claiborne, Creepshow. And then he said, and just to say it out loud, having recently watched it again, Needful Things sucks. He put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I will tell you this. One of my favorite King books, one of my least favorite. I can't get through that movie. I don't know why. I cannot get through it.
He put 8 U's.
So weird.
And remember Thinner? I remember watching Thinner and being like,
oh my gosh, I can't even remember Thinner, and I'm pretty sure I did watch it.
Pet Sematary messed me up, I'll tell you. So then,
really?
Nathan LaHaye, he wrote The Langoliers holds a place for me because of the sheer absurdity of it at times, as does the Stand miniseries from the 1990s. Pet Sematary is also one I'm most fond of. Gage slashing tendons always makes me squirm. Oh yeah, when that kid and then at the end when the wife comes in and whaps him. The Shining in all of its forms and sequels is always top notch. Very good answer. You can listen to Nathan and I. We did a Royal Rumble episode with Megan.
It's a lot of fun. You did. It's so much fun.
You can tell he's a D&D guy because he really mastered us.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, he's good at it.
And then classic American movies. Chris Kelly wrote Graveyard Shift. Will always hold a special spot for me because the short story is so scary and the movie is beyond camp, but nothing will ever top Maximum Overdrive. And Jesse Deal wrote Stand By Me, Silver Bullet. As a kid, I liked Silver Bullet a lot. And Carrie 1976, which is wonderful. And another bad mom.
You know how I feel about Carrie. Love it.
What a bad mom.
My favorite King. Love it.
So many bad moms.
Bad moms. I mean, a lot of bad characters in Carrie, but bad mom.
You should just do like a nice person Hall of Fame from King movies, and it would be very short.
or ranking the worst mothers.
Cool.
King. Oh, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that, Mark. Let's eat ice cream and talk about that. Therapy session, y'all.
I mean, like, where do you even start?
Carrie.
Mr. Mercedes. It. So many bad moms. Are there good moms? The mom in The Shining, she does the best she can. Wendy?
Yeah, Wendy tries her best, I guess.
I mean, she's in a horrifying, terrible.
Yeah.
She's in an abusive relationship, and she still finds her strength.
Yeah, exactly. She still tries her best for her kid. Anyway, this is a conversation for another.
We'll table it. Hey,
yeah.
Hey, where can people find you, Zanandi? Right behind you in the sewers.
In the sewers, also, yeah, in the sewers. Just look for the red balloon.
That'd be crazy. I'm like, is that Zanandi? Hey, Mark. I bet. What are you doing? Nothing.
Nothing.
You're like, Mark, can you move along, please? Like, no witnesses.
Okay. Yeah, please. Yeah, no, I'm on Twitter at Zanandi, on Blue Sky, or like just search my name on the socials, and on the pod. Still doing stuff for Cracked. Well, I don't know when this is coming out. You never know.
Soon.
It's hard to plug yourself these days because you just don't know what's gonna happen. Yeah. But I'm around. Check me up on the socials.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Mark. It's been fun.
All right. So for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for Zanandi Boetis, Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week.